Welcome, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We are the St. Louis Syndicate, and it is Super Bowl week. Brandon, last week was amazingly boring. The lack of football is killing me. And finally, we get some Super Bowl Sunday action. But this is sad, man. It's so sad. It's bittersweet. We've been waiting all year for this game, enjoying every week. I got to tell you, I would love to have week 12 where there's 16 games on and the betting slate is full and everybody's happy. This one game and done thing, I'm watching pro football players play flag football on the television. This is atrocious. How do you think?
Yeah. No, last weekend was rough. Okay, because it's still on the upswing. I think, the 2 weeks after, I have to take a break. I just completely burned myself out. But this week in between, it's just, I wish we had, 15, 16 games coming up and that there was college games going on right now. Like it's just the best time of year. But we have one very exciting game left. So we at least have a couple of hours on Sunday to get some last enjoyment in.
Couple more hours on Sunday. It's actually probably good for my gambling habit that it's stopping because I'm heading into softball season. Those of you that don't know, my daughter plays softball for University of Missouri. We're getting ready to travel the country, and we're going to go to Florida. We're going to see her at different places across the SEC and kind of enjoy that fun. But, man, if I was trying to keep up with all this sports betting, prop betting, trying to make sure all the lines are right, get all the gap assignments in, man, that would be just nuts. But I can take a little bit of a break and just kind of prepare for baseball season.
Yeah, that would be a lot at the same time as football. Luckily, spring football hasn't really caught on yet.
It could now that we've got the apps across
here in
the
St.
nation.
Louis. It's pretty catchy, but the rest of the nation hasn't exactly joined us yet.
Well, this is a football show, Brandon, so we've got to talk about our football. When football season's over, we can digress, but just a small shout out to the St. Louis basketball Pelicans. 21 in the nation, and I've watched them play a couple times, and they are absolutely rolling. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on them. So we might have some fun stuff to talk about. So St. Louis Syndicate's watching the St. Louis Pelicans.
Oh yeah, gotta fly for St. Louis. It definitely dawned on me the other night that it's probably time to find some tickets and see if I can get inside the stadium. So I think that'll be the plan for post Super Bowl is figuring out how hard it is to get in that stadium.
Yeah, they were rocking in that stadium. I was watching it the other night, man. I was like fired up. I'm like, ooh, we can go there. That's only like 30 minutes from the house, man.
Yeah, that's the great part of it. That hey, I follow Mizzou all the time, but it's a trip to actually if you're gonna go want to watch it. But this, it's right down the street. So assuming that when you're on this kind of run, you can actually get your hands on tickets, and they're not all ate up by season ticket holders and students and stuff like that. But hopefully, I can at least get in the stadium for one.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So, Super Sunday. One of the big things that goes along with Super Sunday is prop betting. Prop betting has become more prevalent across the nation as the apps have come out, and DraftKings and FanDuel and all the different MGMs and Caesars and the apps that you can get. They actually push props heavily, and they'll push bad parlays. They push all kind of crazy stuff down your throat. So Brandon and I have come up with our 3 favorite prop bets each heading into the Super Bowl that we think you should not pass on. If you do, you're just throwing your own money away, not ours. I've actually put my money where my mouth is. Brandon, I already went on my DraftKings account, and I loaded up some bets. I went individually, and then I threw them in a parlay. The most they'd give me is $5 bets, but hey, that's better than nothing, right? I put the super boost on it. So I'm putting my money where my mouth is on what is on this piece of paper I'm getting ready to share with you, St. Louis Syndicate fans.
That is my plan for Saturday, is to figure out at least one of the apps and see what kind of leverage I can get out of a new sign up.
There you go. The new sign-up bonuses are amazing. You'll love it.
Yeah, so that's the plan.
All right. So I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna kick one off here that I think is a surefire hit. There's no
Yes, let's go.
way that this doesn't go. It's under the receptions category. The receptions category. Cooper Cup at 3.5 receptions. Over or under? I'm taking the over for plus 135. We're in the Super Bowl, man. He's like a super outlet for Darnold. He's always there, and when push comes to shove at the end of the game, Darnold's going to throw him 3 or 4 balls in one drive, let alone 3.5 for the whole game. Give me the plus 135, baby. It's money in my pocket.
I do tend to agree with you there. I think that there is going to be a focus on stopping the run and doing what they can to slow down JSN. So I think that that ends up funneling, a reasonable number of receptions his direction. So, not to mention that, you get to the Super Bowl, stuff starts getting a little, tight. You start looking for veterans. Hopefully he can play that role. He's obviously there looking to pick up another Super Bowl win after, being unceremoniously released from his last team and be able to prove that he's got, you know, another couple of years on him. So I tend to lean that direction for sure.
I like Brandon with the. I'm bringing you the heat, and Brandon's bringing you the very breakdown centric. Yes, I really think he's going to do it. Crap, he's going to do it. Let's go. It's Super Bowl
Well,
Sunday, Brandon.
here's
Here,
some heat for
let's
you.
hear yours.
Okay. So on the same team, my focus is that we've had a lot of people talking up Kenneth Walker.
Oh yeah,
Hey, he's great against too high. That's what the Patriots run a lot. Yada yada. I'm focused on Kenneth Walker not scoring a touchdown
oh,
for plus 150. I think that the Pates D, their run D specifically, has continued to build. And I think that Walker was always kind of a boomer bust guy. It was that, hey, you get chipped in the backfield or maybe he rips one. I don't see him ripping one. So I think this is easily, money on the table at the odds that it's at. Getting plus odds on somebody not to do something. I mean, hell, he didn't even have to play the whole game. So, I think this is a good place to focus on a reasonable number where it's not too long of a long shot.
So I like your methodology there. I like that you're thinking about it in terms of hell, he doesn't even have to play the whole game. What if they get up real big, or what if he gets hurt? Sprains his ankle in the first quarter. I mean, there's all
Right.
kinds of things that could make this a winner. And when you're gambling, right, you're looking for the edge, not just where you're at. So I actually really like it from that perspective. Now, from an actual play perspective, I don't love it because I do think Walker's probably going to score a touchdown because I feel like early in the game they're going to try to feed him and set a tone so that their defense leads them and their running game leads them, and that Darnold can work later on in the game off the play action, which will feed Cup and then Jigba those balls. So I do think he's going to get a heavy dose early. I think that's a good strategy. Now I know Vrabel knows that. I think the one fluky thing that could happen, and it's the same as an injury, right? An injury is a fluke; you don't count on it. I could see very easily Drake May getting a strip sack about the 8 yard line or 10 yard line, Seattle falling on it, and the next play, Walker pushing one in over at the flag.
Yeah.
But I think
I
that's
think
more
that's
of
the
a,
risk.
I don't see
I
like
think
a
that's
sustained drive where he finishes the drive. That's a harder thing to do, but a fresh drive start inside the 10, he might actually do that. I don't know.
it's that's the reasonable. I think that is the 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 way that ends up happening if it does. That like,
Yeah.
hey, one of the ones that's being ran on all the apps is like, hey, what is Seattle going to do inside the 1 yard line? Hey, are they going to
Yep.
throw a pass inside the one? Are they going to throw a touchdown inside the one? And I think while that's fun to go out there and go like, hey, are they gonna I can't imagine the audacity to be in a game like this and go, I'm going to tempt fate like that
Right.
again. Like, we have running backs. I think if you get down to that one, maybe it's not him. One of the other things that was brought up to me, I don't remember where I heard it, but apparently they're using one of the tight ends as the tush push guy.
Oh,
So I
that
think
makes
you do run with this bet the chance that on like a 1 yard play, you may one of these giant tight ends be the one stuffing the ball in instead of Kenneth Walker, who has this problem with sometimes getting jammed up in the backfield.
that's
So
right.
I think you kind of half of one, 6 dozen of the other, sort of deal where, hey, he might run it in from the 4 because they have a short field or something like that. But I think if you get in a real short yardage scenario, they probably just shove the tight end into the end
I like
zone.
it.
So,
I
so
like
yeah,
it.
I like the
I think, hey,
number.
when you
I
talk
think
about
it's a
plus
reasonable
money,
number.
when you talk
Yeah.
about plus money, I think it's good. My next one, we're going to jump to the other team. Receiving yards. All right. I've got Mr. Booty, Keyshawn Booty, over
Okay.
30.5. Now it's minus 115. I didn't get great odds on it, but I don't see any scenario in which they don't try to spread and lengthen Seattle's defense, which means there's
Yeah.
going to be a few deep shots taken, and he's the guy they do that to. They've done it through the whole playoffs, right? They did it to Denver. They did in
Yep.
Buffalo. That's who they do, and they use him for that. He's just got to connect on one of the 3 or 4 tries to get over
Yeah.
30. So I'm gonna roll with his receiving yards, and they'll flip one out of the backfield to him every once in a while. So, he may come up with
May
12
get there
yards
anyway.
on screens and then hit a 20-yard slant or something. So you never know. I think that that's a pretty good play for a guy who their receiving core, if they want to key on shutting Diggs down, and we've talked about this in the past, if they want to key on Diggs or Henry, it's going to open up the other guys. So I, I
Yeah.
I think it's an opportunity that's probably there for the taking. I'm not as fired up about it as I am Cooper Cup, but I definitely think it's a pretty good play.
I do too. I think, if you're going to go the direction of, I think both of these teams are going to be able to get some purchase with their offenses against these defenses. New England's way is to spread the ball around and to test the top end of the Seattle defense,
Yep.
and then work to open up the middle of the field. So that that seems like that when you go down that road, any one catch should get you there.
Yep.
And so, for the odds, it feels like it's, moving in the right direction for sure.
I'd rather have plus money, but
Right.
I think that at the 30.5, it's okay. If this was 40.5, I'd probably have plus money.
Yeah.
So it's just,
Yeah.
you can probably find it in the different apps, but I'm at 30.5, so I took it.
That seems good.
Good.
So speaking of plus money,
Okay.
my next one, we're building up here. We're
Okay.
saying New England's place kicker, Borregales, 55 yards plus made field goal,
Okay.
plus 650. Going with I think that points are going to be at a premium. We're not
Plus
going to be scoring a
650.
lot of them. Plus 650
Wow.
for what is a very makeable field goal at this point in place kicking. I thought, hey, you get up 60, something like that, you got a lot of risk. I think inside of 60, there is a very good shot at stalling out a drive with that Seattle defense up against you and knowing that you got a free shot at 3 points when, I think that we're going to be fighting to put those points up. So I like that one a lot. I think there's a
Okay.
lot of value there.
All right. I'm good with that. What if I told you that there would be a 32% chance of rain, 61 degrees, and a 5-mile-an-hour wind? Does that change
It's
anything?
pretty good. No,
No, I don't think
No,
so
I mean,
either.
like,
I wanted to
if you
check
get a
because
bunch of
sometimes it can
rain,
get windy in
that
San
sucks.
Francisco.
Yeah, but like, and I saw that there was, a chance of rain. It seemed like the last time I looked, it was a little less than that. So maybe we're building in the wrong direction here. But yeah, in the rain, obviously, it's going to cut down on that. Um, it's probably one that you want to wait until you're real sure about what the the forecast is going to be before you jump on it, because don't make my mistake that I made a couple of days ago, taking the over in a snow hurricane. um
Ah,
but 61 degrees, 5-mile-an-hour winds, that sounds fantastic
yeah,
for an outdoor Super Bowl. So i think
pretty
i
good.
think we're pointed in the direction of having a nice clean game, hopefully.
Absolutely. Okay, so my last one, I'm going to go over then to the marquee of the marquees, right? We're going to go to the quarterback, and we're going to go to the potential NFL MVP. I don't know if he's going to be. I think it might be Stafford, but Drake May, potential MVP candidate, 220.5 passing yards. I'm going to take the over at a minus 112. I think for the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, he's going to have to be throwing the ball. And I think that Seattle's going to control most of the game, which means May's got to be passing most of the game. So I'm going to say that 220 is within range. He's probably going to end up with 265, would be my guess. His average on the year is like 255. So it's a little low right now. They're actually saying basically that he's not going to have as good an outing because that Seahawks defense, which is highly possible. But I'm also going to
Yeah.
say there could be some trash numbers in there towards the end of the game if Seattle's up, that they might be playing some soft coverage, some yards chewed up there. I'm going to take my chance on that, and I'll go with the over.
Yeah. With that script for the game, that seems very reasonable. It seems like there's a ton of value there if that's the way that you're kind of building your portfolio. That, like, if we're going to have some separation between the teams, then he is going to be throwing the ball.
Yeah.
But personally, I'm looking for the under. So I would probably go under that number even. I would probably try to wait until as late in the betting window as possible, because that should continue to get bet up over
Yep.
time. Um, you would hope maybe get up over 225, maybe even up, near 230, and for the same price, and be able to grab a couple more yard opportunities. But I think, if you're looking at it and going, I think Seattle's really going to be able to separate in this game, then he should fly way over that, regardless of, ultimately, if Seattle's defense is stopping them from scoring, he should have plenty of opportunities to pick up yards.
Yep. Agreed. What's your last prop?
My last one, I like my no shoes buddy, Collins, to get 2 receptions in each
Okay.
half.
We need
I
chat.
think, yeah, I think he, since he's come back, is somebody that they're going to be looking for. He's going to be able to play kind of that role like Cup. Hey, you guys are focused on Bude and Stefan, and hey, I got my hands right here. Just give me the ball. So 2 receptions each half plus 700.
Ooh, that's good.
It seems like very reasonable, especially for the way that Seattle plays their defense. Obviously, we're building the long shotness of this out, but it feels like you've got a lot of value there.
I like it, man. I think I'm going to go bet all your plays just because. I mean, why not, right? That's money in the bank.
Yeah.
Syndicate fans, you should be doing the same thing. I mean, why not? Put
And
what do
I've
they
got
say
one
in
other fun one that I
they
came
say
across.
throw some cheeseburger money on it,
Yeah.
pizza money.
Yeah.
You got a
I've
fun one you
got,
came across? What's this?
yeah, I came across a fun one because I think that you have two distinct ways that this game can go that I'm going back and forth between. One is, hey, both teams go out there, they get started, fairly slow. They feel the other one out. They try to control the clock. And the other one is whoever takes the ball first does something wild and goes, I'm going to try to step on the other one's neck right off the jump. So they've got points scored in the first minute of the game at plus 1,300.
Plus
So
1,300 points scored in the first
minute
minute.
of game time. So, no, I don't think that you make it the same size bet as maybe your other props, but I think at plus 1,300, it's one of those ones to just kind of round out a portfolio of going, hey, I think the game's going to go this way. I'm going to have some protection on some wildness on the other side. I think this is a good one to kind of pair with looking for field goals and unders and, receptions by your third or fourth wide receiver and those sorts of things. Hey,
Yeah.
whoever takes the ball first, maybe they just grip it and rip it. And,
Right.
you have a nice win right after first minute of the game. You got a nice and knocked out. So that was
That'd be
just
pretty good.
one. It doesn't really fit the rest of them, but I feel like it's kind of a counterweight.
That'd be pretty fun if you could hit something like that. I don't know necessarily if I see that hitting in the Super Bowl because I tend to recall things like Brett Favre and his nerves coming out and overthrowing every receiver by, 30 yards over their head. And I imagine May and Darnold both will have a little bit of nerves because Darnold was never supposed to be there and May might be there a year or two early. But at the end of the
Well, yeah.
day, those defenses are what's capable of that kind of play for you.
But if this includes somebody screwing up on the kickoff, putting a short field up there or returning one,
Yeah.
jitters, pick sixes, you got the Peyton Manning special. You just
Yeah.
snap it over his head and right into the end zone. So, it
And
covers a
you're
lot
like
of plus
any kind
side
of score,
play.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just points scored in the first minute of the game. So any points that get scored successfully completes the bet. And, it's just one of those things that you go, there's so many opportunities for greatness or a screw up right off the jump that the odds seem like you have some good value there if you look at it
So
holistically. So
what was it? 1,300 or 13,000?
1,300.
1,300. What is it for points scored in the last minute of the game?
Well,
That feels like
that's
it'd be an
interesting.
interesting one.
I don't know if I came. Oh, here we go. Well, we have score on the last play of the game. Yes is plus
Okay.
800. No is minus 1,800.
Man, that would be crazy, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see around last because this you have first minute of the game, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So they kind of give you a chart of, hey, at the beginning of the game, where do you think those first points are going to get scored? Because they have the no on both sides of this. So, if you think, hey, there's going to be no
Oh, yeah.
scoring, you can go 10 minutes of game time, no, and get it at 270. Which, if you're going my direction of going, hey, I think that this is going to be slow and we're going to play a lot of defense, you can get through 10 minutes of game time pretty quick. You get through 10 minutes of game time on the first drive, really, if they're really
Yep.
going slow. So,
Oh, yeah.
you have that, that plus money opportunity there that also, if you want to go heavy on the, hey, I really think this game's going to start super slow. So that's kind of there. I thought that was the easiest way to kind of get at a game script thought.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna throw one more fun one at you, and then we'll jump into our game breakdown.
Perfect.
I actually asked ChatGPT a fan favorite. So this is what AI says. Okay, so
Okay.
those of you listening, the length of time the Star Spangled Banner has been sang. On average for the last 20 Super Bowls is 1 minute and 57 seconds.
Okay.
That's a that's a prop bet out there that a lot of places play on. A lot of people, when they do their little pools and they get together Super Bowl parties, they'll
Uh-huh.
put, will Star Spangled Banner be over or under 2 minutes? Well, for the last 20 Super Bowls, it's averaged a minute 57. Now,
Interesting.
of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 have gone under 2 minutes, with 8 going over.
Okay.
So you have to
Yeah,
take your chances, and I don't even know who's singing this year, but um,
it's
that's always a
damn
fun,
it. I heard
interesting.
somebody talking about it because they brought up that, the early consensus theory is that whoever it is, they think will be on the quicker end of singing it.
Okay.
And they gave some reasons, and I wasn't listening that closely because I don't think I use a book that allows me to bet on it. But yeah, I think the consensus right now is leaning on the side of the under.
Okay. So just to give you a little bit of couple fun facts. All right. The shortest and fastest of this time was performed February 4th, 2007 in 90 seconds. So 1 minute and 30 seconds, national anthem,
Okay.
performed by Billy Joel himself.
Moving
Now,
and
would you
shaking.
think Billy Joel would be fast?
He's kind of an upbeat guy, right? He's got
Yeah.
he's got, a pretty good amount of his catalog. This kind of, hey, we're ripping at tempo here.
Yeah, why not? So the longest is Super Bowl 47,
What year was
played
that?
on February 3rd, 2013. This one
Okay.
was Alicia Keys, 2 minutes and 35 seconds. She went a minute and 5 seconds longer than Billy Joel.
I have vague memories of recently. I wouldn't have been able to name her, but I had a memory of one going like super long because that was by the time that I was probably having Super Bowl parties and running prop bet and remembering that like there was one of them that we went like legitimately, half a minute over the over under, where you're just like you get to the over under number and then you're like, we're not even close to the end of the song yet. Like we're just and that had to have been what it was.
Well, so just in the last 5 years, in Super Bowl 55, that was Eric Church, and he was 2 minutes and 17 seconds.
Pretty long too.
So that's pretty long. But anyway, that's your fun fact. Brandon, it's time to talk about the game. Enough about all this other
Yes.
hockey hooey stuff. Bill, the Sandman himself, I promise you, he's doing this fly Seahawks fly song or something somewhere up
Uh-huh.
there in the Northwest.
Yeah.
Super happy about his his Seahawks getting
Uh-huh.
there. A little slip there, Bill. About the Seahawks getting there. What does your breakdown have the game at? Right now, the spread has been sitting for days at the Seahawks favored by 4.5 with a game total 45.5. What's your numbers put this at?
I think by the numbers that the Seahawks should be a slightly bigger favorite. My numbers aren't really working in a super exact way, but I think legitimately that it should be like a 6.5 point favorite. I'm
Okay.
having a hard time believing that that's what makes sense. I think that some of the like first half whippings that they have put on a bunch of teams this year has skewed the way that this is all doing the figuring. But yeah, that's what the number comes out at. Like, I think that, and especially I think the public is going to come in on Seattle, and this is going to push up somewhere close to that. Then it'll probably
Yeah.
close 6. So
You think it'll pull all the
the
way up?
four and a
It's
half
possible.
is probably, I'll tell you this, the 4.5 and then the Patriots money line are probably the Patriots money line on Sunday or the Seahawks minus 4.5 now is probably the way to play it, depending on what side you land on. Like,
And if you think you can get favorable numbers, you may want to play both.
well, yeah, no, I think you're going down the road of that right now. The money line's sitting at plus 195. So
Yep.
I think that easily grows, and you're in the position to, where you can kind of close the vig gap on this scenario. Um, so, for me, I'm probably not going to end up taking a side officially, but I would probably today take the Seahawks minus the 4.5. As much as I don't believe in Darnold, they've taken enough of my money. I think, it's time to just go ahead and give in and go outside of us getting here and finding out that the Patriots defense is just substantially better than the numbers say that they have, even though they have been good. I think that's the only scenario where the Seahawks don't end up covering this game. So what are you thinking when you look at yours?
So my numbers, I've stayed consistent through the playoffs, and it's treated me well because it gives me a baseline. I don't always bet with it, and I think that that's the smart thing for any bettor to do. Have a baseline, but then you still need to take the other factors that your number can't count in there. I do think that as you and I have talked, we're going to talk this off season about how do we build something that takes a little bit of the variance out. So when we get to this point in the season, we're not just getting our teeth kicked in because our numbers
Yeah.
run and operate pretty well from and mine do from like week 5 to about week 16. So I've got a good sweet spot in there. The first 4 weeks I struggle a little bit because unknown, and then the last 2 weeks are and the playoffs is kind of like, well, I got to go all the way back to week 16 to get numbers that make any sense. So, taking into account that, I have the Seahawks at minus 2.2. I also have the over under on this thing at 56, which is way high. But that's what the algorithm is. And that's a little bit of what you talked about, where they would just smash on some people early, but then, other teams would play catch up. And so it drives that over up for them traditionally in games. Thus, we're seeing this. Additionally, the Patriots tend to put up some points as well. And so they've played in some of these shootouts and won accordingly. So, really what we're going to look at is the 2.2. I like the Seahawks. I think that they make the most sense. And really what we're going to do is focus on them to cover this number. So, Brandon, ultimately, the 2.2 that my number is at, while I trust it, I really look and see that the 4.5 is a better indication of what the score should probably be. So I actually trust Vegas in this. I'm leaning personally towards the 4.5. I think that Seattle is just a little bit better than New England in this particular instance. These things always make you nervous. You know, it's just like they're in the Super Bowl for a reason. And I love this. This goes back to that whole leadership thing. Vrabel has these guys believing they can do it.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any point spread out there. And there's a pretty good chance that I'm not going to play on the point spread either. With the over under at 45.5, man, I just don't want to sit and root for no points. I'll probably just take the over and just root for points and hope they score. But ultimately, these defenses are pretty solid. So, what do you have on the total? What are you thinking?
I as much as I hate it, I think I'm going to end up on the over. I don't like how this has come down. So I'm staring at it going like, yeah, when it started and it was 47 and a half, that would have enticed me to go, hey, I'm capturing the 47. Obviously, it'd be better if it'd be 48, but now that it's been brought down a couple of points, I don't know. I'm going to be watching it the rest of the week and see if there's enough pressure to push it back up some.
Yeah.
But I, as much as I'm going, like I'm when I'm going through the props, I'm looking for stuff that isn't going to happen. But I do think things are going to happen, and the game's going to stay close, and then that probably puts us in a position where we squeak over and get into the upper 20s with both teams. I'd be very surprised if, you go out there and you hit an alt line and it's like, hey, I'm 60, 70, like we've had the last couple of years. That seems outrageous this time.
Yeah.
But to get into the upper 40s, the low 50s, everything that we've watched so far this year with these two teams leads me to believe that that's where it gets us to. So that's probably where I'm going to end up.
I feel a little bit like this thing ends up 28-24, which gets us to the over and the Patriots cover,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I mean,
makes me nervous because my gut would be like, I like Seattle in the under.
you know me, I always shade towards the under in these, and I've been bit the last couple of years by it. And I think that this is just a scenario where, with the way that these teams match up, I think they will figure out how to get some points across the line. And especially if it settles at 45 and a half, it's such a low number for
Yeah.
two teams that have 2 weeks to work out a way to deal with each other's defenses. So,
Yeah.
so I think that that's where I'm gonna land come
Yep.
Sunday.
No, I totally makes sense. So what I'm hearing is slightly over
Yeah,
and probably the Seahawks.
yeah.
Wait, lay some conviction on our fans out there.
If I'm look, there's a couple of buckets that I'm looking at, like to play in a contest where hey, you have to pick both sides of these. I would lay the 4.5. I would take the over. In the open market where you're out here and you're just on a book, I'm going to be watching for how high that money line can get on the New England side and where the line goes on the Seattle side and see if those compress
Yeah.
in any way. Because I would really like to have some money on New England to win the game outright or Seattle to win by margin.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, like I said, at 45 and a half, I'm going to take the over. If it starts creeping back up, then, it may sway me. But as it stands today, with the numbers we have out there, I would be going out and grabbing the over the 45 and a half range.
Yep. Absolutely. I agree. So as we wrap up here, on a great football season, we're getting ready to watch the pinnacle of our sport here that we enjoy so much. Keys to the game. Couple of key points that I would share is for New England to have success, they're going to take the top off that defense and get those defensive backs to have to press back, the backers to have to back up and help against the Patriots tight ends and to slow that pass rush down. We're going to have to see some of these running backs chipping the pass rush. If they can do that and keep May upright, we could see something special out of that kid. On the other hand, for the Seahawks, they need to put pressure on. They need to run the ball effectively, and they need to make sure that that running opens up behind the backers, the Cups and the Njigba's running around. So I think there is a game plan that is not too far off of either of those that we're going to see. I'm anxious to see if I'm thinking about this correctly because it's always fun for me to sit around and predict what we think these teams are going to do. And yeah, I listen to some talking heads and everybody has an opinion. I just try to think of X's and O's and what I would do if I was coaching. What about you?
For me, I think it all comes down to one thing. New England is going to come in with a plan on blitzing, and it's either going to work or it's not going to work. And I think that is ultimately they are going to pick up that blitz well, and Darnold's going to pick them apart, or they're going to figure out how to get to him when he doesn't know what's coming, and they're going to mess him up. And I think when you watch it, that will be the pivot point that decides which way this game goes.
I love it. there you go. Betting fans, you've heard it here first. Kind of we like the under, over, maybe, and kind of the Seahawks. There it is.
Definitely
That's our
the over.
definitive answer from the St. Louis Syndicate.
Definitely the over.
Definitely the over. All right, guys. Good luck with your bets. Enjoy the Super Bowl. We're the St. Louis Syndicate. He's Brandon. I'm Nate. We'll catch up with you guys after the big game.
Cheers.